11 drivers agreed to share what happened to them on Oregon's back roads. Some uploaded the raw dashcam audio. Others left messages they never sent. A few whispered their confessions to dispatchers who could only listen. What they met out there, between mile markers that won't stay in order and towns that fell off the map, explains why so many truckers refuse to cross Oregon after dark. If you're ready to hear what really moves out on the loneliest highways in America, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Shadow Whisper and turn on all notifications. After this, an empty road will never look empty again. Let's begin. I've driven Highway 26 through the Coast Range more nights than I can count. 30 years in long haul, and that ribbon from the Pacific to Portland is etched into my bones. Every grade, every lazy curve where deer like to test your brakes, every turnout where the fog sits like a sleeping dog. You learn its moods. You learn its lies. And until that Tuesday, I thought I'd learned all of them. I rolled out after 11, a late lumber pull, the kind of load that hums like a hive through the cab floor. Weather said fog, nothing new. The Pacific knows how to make you feel alone. A wet, salty breath that finds its way through door seals and vents no matter how tight you think you've battened down. I kept the windows up and the heater on the boots. Classic rock on low. CB on 19. A night I could do blindfolded. Funny choice of words. The fog started thick past the summit. Headlights shrinking to halos, reflectors popping up one at a time out of the milk. Even then I wasn't nervous. I clicked a knuckle on the wheel and hummed along to a song I've heard 1,000 times. Right as the chorus hit, the radio cut off. Not static. Not a fade. Just gone. Dead air so clean it felt intentional, like someone had hit a mute button on the world. I flicked between stations. Nothing. I went to the CB. My thumb found the push to talk by feel. Southbound 26 East, what's it look like at government camp? I asked out of habit. No hiss. No bleed from other channels. No bored night holler telling me it was pea soup. The speaker felt like a mouth held shut. I told myself the mountains were eating the signal and put both hands back where they belonged. The fog thickened another degree. It looked layered now, not a wall but sheets, like I was driving through folded gauze. My headlights kept finding new edges to die against. My brain started doing that tired driver math. Distance, speed, braking time, while my foot stayed feather light on the throttle. That's when I saw the road breathe. I've told this part 100 times and I never get it right. It wasn't a bump. It wasn't frost heave. It was rhythm. The asphalt ahead of me rose a hair and settled. Rose and settled, slow as a sleeping animal. The white dashes bowed when it lifted, straightened when it fell. My foot came off the gas without asking me first. The rig coasted down to 30, then 20. I eased to the shoulder that I couldn't see, felt gravel tick the tires and stopped. The engine idle felt too loud in the quiet that followed. I cut the headlights to see if the fog would retreat to stars. Nothing retreated. The world just got smaller. The dash lights washed my hands in hospital green. They were shaking. I cracked the door. The cold carried pine pitch and salt and that faint lane paint smell that sticks when crews have been out. The fog pressed inside like steam from a line you've just bled. I took my flashlight because of course I did. I'm a professional and professionals verify. Out front, the beam found road. Black, wet, familiar. Then it found the rise. A gentle swell along the center line, no more than an inch, sliding under itself like muscle. The gravel at the edge rolled tiny stones a quarter-inch forward, then back, a little tide. No sound. You'd expect a sound. You'd expect anything moving asphalt to complain. This didn't. It just lived. I squatted until my knees popped and held the light low. The beam made little shadow tongues between aggregate flecks, and those tongues lengthened with the lift and shortened with the fall. My heartbeat tried to match it. 6, 7 seconds up. 6, 7 down. I put my palm flat to the shoulder paint to prove I'd lost it. The paint warmed my hand when the road rose. I yanked back like it had bit me. The breath I'd been holding came out weird and tight, like the air didn't want to leave. I stood too fast and the world tilted. The fog took a step toward me. I took a step back and felt the pavement under my heel do that tiny rise against the rubber of my boot. I don't know how long I stood there arguing with nothing. I know I looked behind me and saw the same rhythm rippling under my trailer lights. I know I told myself carbon monoxide can mess with your head even with a window cracked, and then reminded myself my windows were shut. I know I said my own name out loud just to hear a human word. Get in the truck, the voice that sounds like my old supervisor said. Tie down your nerves and get in the truck. I obeyed. Door, step, wheel, key. The cab felt safer because walls can lie, but they also keep you from seeing the lie. I put her in drive and eased forward. The tires took the first lift like a salon chair rising under you. The wheel ticked in my hands, little pulses running up my forearms. The white dashes ahead curved like fish backs at the surface. My radio came alive with a noise I'd never heard on it. A long, patient exhale, then the faintest inhale, matching the asphalt's rise and fall. My CB joined in like a harmony. I reached for the knobs. Soft. Not rubber soft. Skin soft. The volume dial gave under my fingers like I'd pressed the pad of my thumb into the back of someone's hand. I didn't scream. I made a sound no man should ever hear himself make and put my hands back on the wheel even though the wheel had changed. Texture under my palms that wasn't textured plastic. Ridges. A pulse I didn't want to locate. Past the next reflector, the fog parted just enough to show straight road. Nothing but me and two white lines and a surface that rose and fell like breath. I told myself the only way out was through. I told myself if the road wanted me, it already had me, and speed wouldn't change its mind. I eased to 40. The breathing kept pace. I eased to 50. The breathing didn't hurry. It led. When the GPS decided to say anything, it said I was on course, straight, on time. Its little arrow glided like a smug lie across a map that wasn't watching the world. 2 minutes later, the radio's breathing stopped like someone pinched a nose, and the music I'd left mid-chorus jumped back in on the word heart. The wheel cooled. The dials were dials again. The road ahead lay flat as paper. I coasted to the next wide shoulder like a man reaching for the edge of a pool after swallowing water the wrong way. I put it in park. I listened to the engine tick and the rain find the hood in small metallic pings. I told myself I'd imagine the whole thing. Then, because something in me needed to be cruel to itself, I opened the door again and put my hand on the paint line. For a second, just one. Up. Then down. Then nothing. I shut the door so gently you'd think I was afraid to wake someone sleeping under us. You tell yourself it's fatigue. That's the rule out here. Every strange shadow, every impossible sound, every ghost in the mirrors is just exhaustion wearing a mask. I've used that excuse my whole career. It's how you stay sane when half your life is spent between mile markers and darkness. So, I told myself the same thing that night. Keep driving, stay awake, don't think. The breathing road? A trick of fog and tired eyes. The pulsing wheel? Static from my imagination. But there's something about silence after sound returns. It's heavier. More deliberate. Like it's listening for your denial. The radio played another song. I didn't recognize it. Slow. Gentle. A woman's voice humming under the melody. No lyrics. Just breath. I turned it off. The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. It had a pulse. Then came the smell. At first, faint, like wet soil after rain. Then stronger, thicker, more organic. It reminded me of the lumber I was hauling, pine sap and rot, but mixed with something else. Something animal. Something alive. I cracked the window for air. The fog outside looked thicker than before, hanging low and swirling against the headlights as if stirred by invisible hands. I could see my beams stretching into nothing, like they were being swallowed by a lung instead of air. That's when the road ahead of me lifted again. Not subtly this time. It rose. A gentle swell at first, then another like waves rolling under tar. The asphalt shimmered under the high beams, glistening not from rain but from something slick. My front tires touched the rise, and the truck jerked like it had driven over something soft that pushed back. I slammed the brakes. The rig skidded, fishtailed slightly, and stopped dead center of the highway. The fog pressed closer, wrapping the cab. And that's when I heard it. Not through the radio. Not through the CB. Through the truck itself. A low, distant heartbeat, deep and slow, coming from the engine bay. Thump. Pause. Thump. Each vibration moved through the floorboard and up the seat into my spine. I stared at the dash, oil pressure, temperature, voltage, all normal. I cut the ignition. The heartbeat didn't stop. It was beneath me. I opened the door again even though every part of me screamed not to. The air outside had changed. Heavier, humid, thick with that rotten sap smell. The fog glowed faintly, like there was something bioluminescent underneath it. I stepped down, flashlight in hand. The beam caught the road and I froze. The asphalt wasn't asphalt anymore. It was translucent in patches. Veins, or something that looked like veins, pulsed faintly beneath the surface. Red. Then orange. Then gone. I took one step forward and crouched low. The ground rose slowly beneath my boots, an upward swell that matched the rhythm of the heartbeat. The road was breathing again. Only now it wasn't pretending to be still. My mind fought it, tried to translate it into something mechanical, something explainable, maybe a sinkhole, a gas pocket, an earthquake tremor, but then the surface shifted. A shape pressed up from below, a shape the size of a human hand, palm first pushing gently against the tar, distorting it from underneath like plastic wrap. The fingers flexed. The palm dragged. Then it sank back down. I stumbled backward, slipping on the wet shoulder, the flashlight flying from my hand. It hit the road and rolled, the beam spinning wild circles through the fog. For 1 second, it lit something that wasn't there before. A crack running across the center line, long and jagged. From that crack, steam was rising, not white but gray and oily. I crawled toward the cab. The ground beneath me moved, rippling like a ripple through skin. My hand reached the step rail and I heard another sound, faint but deliberate. Knocking. 3 slow knocks from directly under the truck. I stopped breathing. The knocks repeated, louder, from beneath the asphalt itself. It sounded like fists, or something like fists, slamming against a hollow layer under the road. Then came scraping. Claws. Fingertips. The cracks widened by inches and the ground began to heave. I got back in, slammed the door, turned the key, floored the accelerator. The tires spun on the breathing surface for 2 long seconds. Rubber squealing against something that felt wet. Then the rig lurched forward, traction finally catching. As I picked up speed, the road behind me rose higher, like something underneath was trying to surface. Through the mirrors, I saw waves rolling down the asphalt, like the earth was exhaling me. The steering wheel vibrated under my hands, almost shaking itself loose. My GPS flickered, the display glitching between coordinates that made no sense. 0.0000 degrees north, 0.0000 degrees west. Then flashing a message I'd never seen before. Surface error. The CB came alive again, faint whispers layered over the static. Words I couldn't make out, but one phrase repeated clearly, "Stay on the white lines." I kept my eyes glued to them. Left, right, left, right. As long as I could see those lines, I knew which way was forward. But they started to move. The dashes stretched, curled, slithered, sliding across the asphalt like snakes, crossing into each other, tangling. The road twisted, the fog thickened, and the heartbeat grew louder until it filled every frequency in my head. And then silence again. Everything stopped. No fog. No sound. No heartbeat. Just stillness. I slowed down and realized something worse than anything I'd imagined. The trees around me were gone. The night sky above me was gone. All I could see, in every direction, was asphalt. The road stretched flat and featureless into infinity, glowing faintly from within, breathing so softly it almost looked calm. My engine was off. My headlights were off. But the world around me was lit from below. And then the CB clicked once, and a single voice whispered through the speaker, perfectly calm, perfectly human. "You're inside it now." The line went dead. I gripped the wheel and stared at the horizon. A horizon made of road that moved like a chest drawing breath. There was nowhere left to go. I don't know how long I sat there, engine dead, hands welded to the wheel, breath sinking to the slow rise and fall beneath me. The air was warm now, humid like a greenhouse. The windshield fogged from the outside, thin trails of condensation crawling upward instead of down, like gravity didn't matter here. The only light came from beneath the asphalt itself, a dull amber glow pulsing with every exhale. It felt alive. Not just the road but the whole landscape. The more I stared, the more I saw faint outlines under the surface, like veins, rivers branching into nowhere. Then I noticed the white lines were moving again, this time away from me. They weren't slithering anymore. They were pulling apart, forming a corridor through the glowing surface. I didn't want to follow. Every instinct screamed not to. But the longer I stared at that open path, the louder something whispered in my head. No sound, no voice, just intention. Go forward. I turned the key. The truck coughed, then started. The headlights flicked on, and what I saw outside nearly broke my mind. The fog was gone, but the world still wasn't right. The trees at the edges of the road weren't trees anymore. They were structures, long and narrow, bending like spines. Their shadows moved on their own, curling into each other, breathing in the same rhythm as the ground. The CB crackled again, faint at first, then clearer. A man's voice, calm, older, steady. If you're hearing this, you're still on 26. Don't stop. Don't look down. Just drive until you see the sign. My hand hovered over the mic, but I didn't press it. I just started driving again, slow and steady. 10 miles passed, at least it felt like 10, but the odometer didn't move. It was stuck at 0.0. The GPS still blinked, surface error. And then I saw it. A highway sign rising from the glowing ground ahead, green, metal, perfect, like it had been planted in a world that didn't belong to it. The text looked handwritten in white paint instead of reflective lettering. Read, Exit 0, wake up. My headlights dimmed. The radio came alive again, the same woman's voice from before humming that slow, wordless tune. I stopped 50 feet from the sign. The surface beneath the tires began to thin. The glow brightened until the road ahead turned translucent, then transparent. Underneath I saw movement. Not machinery. Not lava. Something organic, shapes flowing, shifting, pressing upward like thousands of bodies crawling beneath glass. Hands. Faces. Eyes. All made of the same molten black material that pulsed with the light. Then came the breath again, stronger than before. The entire truck lifted 2 inches into the air as the road inhaled. That was it. My nerves broke. I slammed the accelerator, tires spinning, rubber melting against the surface. The sign blurred past my window, Exit 0, before the entire horizon collapsed inward like the world had exhaled me out. And suddenly I was back. The road was solid again. Black. Dry. Ordinary. The dashboard clock read 12:41 a.m., exactly the time it should have been if I'd never stopped. The radio hummed static. The GPS found signal again, showing me exactly where I was. Highway 26, mile marker 42. I pulled onto the shoulder, stepped out, and let the cold air hit my lungs. The fog was lifting, and in the mirror of my side window, I saw the world return to normal. Trees still, road flat, stars clear. I almost laughed. Almost convinced myself I'd hallucinated the whole thing. Then I saw the footprints. Not on the asphalt, beneath it. Dark shapes pressed into the blacktop from underneath, perfectly shaped human prints spaced evenly apart, leading away from the truck before fading into the distance. I knelt, touched the road. Still, cold, silent. But as I started to pull my hand back, something shifted under my palm, a faint, slow rise. A heartbeat waiting under the surface. I climbed back into the truck and drove the rest of the way to Portland without turning the radio back on. That was 3 months ago. I don't take 26 anymore. I take the detours through the valley even when it adds hours to the run. And sometimes, late at night, when the fog rolls inland and I hit a stretch of perfect silence, I swear I can feel it again. The pavement breathing. Waiting. Because some roads aren't built. They're born. And they never forget the drivers who wake them. If there's one thing every driver learns the hard way, it's that shortcuts are liars. They whisper about save time, smoother roads, fewer miles. They never mention what's waiting when the world runs out of map. That night, the algorithm promised me 40 minutes saved. A backroad between Highway 58 and 242, cutting through the Cascades. 3 NAV apps agreed. Google, Waze, the truck's built-in GPS. All of them flashing that same thin gray line through the forest like it was gospel truth. 40 minutes meant an early drop, an early paycheck. and one more reason to believe the machine over my instincts. The turnoff came just past Crescent Lake. No signage, no markers, just a narrow paved road disappearing between pines that looked too close together. I slowed, checked all 3 maps again. Still green. Still fastest route. So I took it. The moment my tires hit that road, it felt different. Too smooth for state maintenance, too quiet for a logging path. The radio lost reception within minutes. My cell bars fell from 4 to 1, then nothing. I told myself it was the terrain. But I've driven enough canyons to know the difference between mountains blocking signal and something blocking connection. The deeper I went, the more the forest changed. No roadside debris. No mile markers. Not even a single reflector post. Just perfect pavement hemmed in by trees that pressed tighter with every mile. The clock read 11:47 p.m. I'd been on this cut through for 20 minutes when I saw the first sign that something was wrong. The trees moved. Not swayed, moved. Not in front of me but in the side mirror. At first I thought it was fatigue. Headlights hitting trunks at an angle, giving the illusion of movement. But the mirror doesn't lie. It shows what your eyes miss. And what it showed made my stomach twist. The tree lean along the right shoulder had shifted. Trees that were 10 yards back were now standing at the pavement's edge. I slowed. Rolled down the window. No wind. Not even the whisper of needles brushing needles. When I stopped completely, the forest stopped too. The air went still enough that I could hear my own engine ticking over. For 30 seconds nothing moved. Then came the sound, a wet tearing from deep in the woods, followed by a low groan like wood being bent the wrong way. My headlights hit something tall on the shoulder. A Douglas fir, roots and all, pulling itself out of the ground. The roots twisted under it like thick, jointed legs, slick with dirt. The trunk leaned forward, branches trembling like muscles rediscovering movement. Then it took a step. An actual step onto the asphalt. My brain refused it at first. You see enough weird stuff on night hauls, fog shapes, mirages, optical illusions, you learn to shrug it off. But this wasn't a trick. This was motion. The tree's roots flexed like tendons, pushing its weight forward with a crack of breaking bark. Another followed behind it. Then another. In my mirror, the entire right-hand forest line was walking. I slammed the truck into drive and floored it. The rig lurched forward, tires screaming on the narrow blacktop. 60 miles an hour on a road built for 40. Branches whipped overhead. The headlights caught trunks sliding past like ghosts. I checked the mirror again, and I wish I hadn't. A wall of trees was stepping out of the woods behind me, moving in sync. Their roots tore from the soil with each stride, leaving gaping holes that smoked faintly as if the earth itself was cauterizing the wound. They weren't chasing in panic, they were keeping pace. Watching, learning, adjusting their stride to mine. The GPS flickered, the route recalculating itself over and over until the screen froze. Then a new message appeared in red text I'd never seen before. Objects in motion. Avoidance impossible. The voice navigation tried to speak but came out as a whisper of static that sounded like whine through branches. I didn't look back again. I couldn't. Because even without the mirror, I could feel them. Every vibration through the asphalt, every shift in the air as the tree lean advanced. The forest was following me. I don't remember the exact moment fear became focus. But when the first tree stepped onto the road ahead, roots unfolding like spider legs, instinct took over. I swerved left, barely missing it. The impact of one root brushing the trailer made the entire rig shudder. Bark scraped metal, leaving deep gouges down the side. Then another stepped out from the opposite side. The road was narrowing, closing in like a living jaw. I accelerated harder. 80, 85. Every second felt like a heartbeat shared with the forest. Mine wild and desperate, theirs slow and synchronized. Through the windshield, I could see movement in both directions now. Trees stepping out, closing ranks, the canopy above twisting into a roof that blocked out the stars. The road ahead curved and I saw something waiting in the bend. A shape taller and broader than the rest. A single massive tree standing dead center, its trunk wide enough to stop a semi-dead. There was no room to turn, no shoulder to escape. For the first time that night, I realized the forest wasn't chasing me. It was hurting me. and whatever waited ahead was the reason. I don't remember deciding to hit the brakes. My foot just did it. The tires screamed, trailer fishtailed, and I came to a stop maybe 20 yards from the thing standing in the middle of the curve. A Douglas fir so massive its trunk filled both lanes. It didn't sway, didn't creak. It just stood there, anchored, waiting. Behind me the forest was closing in. The sound of roots tearing from the ground was constant now, rhythmic, like synchronized footsteps on wet earth. Every time one of those root legs hit pavement, I could feel it vibrate through the truck's floorboard. The air inside the cab was thick, heavy with that scent of wet soil and sap. My windshield fogged from the outside again, and the wipers smeared streaks of mud I hadn't seen fall. The radio flicked on by itself. Static. Then a voice, my own. "You shouldn't have come this way." I froze. The voice wasn't live, it was a recording. The same timbre, same tired rasp, saying words I had never spoken. It repeated, distorted, stretched. "You shouldn't have come this way, shouldn't have, shouldn't." The CB crackled next, and something hissed across the frequency like wind through branches. Then I realized it was whine through branches. And it was coming from all around me. Through the fogged windshield, the tree ahead moved. Not like the others. It breathed. Its trunk expanded and contracted with deep, slow motion, bark splitting slightly with each inhale. Then the first one behind me stepped onto the pavement. The sound was indescribable, wood grinding against wood, roots scraping asphalt, every movement slow but deliberate. I threw the truck into reverse out of reflex. But the moment I shifted, the transmission locked. The gear lever wouldn't budge. Something pressed against the trailer, light but heavy enough to rock the cab. I looked at the rear camera feed and what I saw made my stomach drop. The trees had formed a wall behind me. Dozens of trunks lined shoulder to shoulder, their root legs planted in perfect formation. No gaps. No escape. They weren't attacking. They were arranging themselves. Another step forward from the giant in front. Its roots spread outward, curling around the road shoulders, digging into the asphalt with a crunch that sounded like ice cracking on a frozen lake. I realized then, I wasn't being chased anymore. I was being surrounded. The forest was building a corridor around me. A funnel. Ahead, the tree that blocked the road began to split, not falling but opening, its trunk peeling back like a door made of bark. Inside was darkness deeper than night, a hollow void that pulsed faintly with amber light. My headlights flickered. The dashboard lights dimmed. Every warning chime went off in sequence. Engine, oil, brakes, each tone blending into a single droning hum that matched the rhythm of the breathing forest. I don't know why I did it. Maybe panic. Maybe instinct. Maybe something else. But I pressed the accelerator. The engine roared back to life, and the truck lurched forward toward the opening in that impossible trunk. Branches scraped along the sides like fingers dragging nails on metal. The sound was deafening. As I entered the corridor, the air changed, colder, heavier, full of moisture and earth and rot. The glow inside came from veins running along the bark walls, pulsing like arteries. The road beneath me wasn't asphalt anymore, it was root and dirt fused into a single living surface. The tires slipped, caught, slipped again. My hands were locked on the wheel. If I stopped, I knew it wouldn't let me start again. I kept driving. The tunnel twisted and turned, too tight for the trailer, and branches clawed at the roof, tearing strips of metal loose. Then I saw something up ahead, movement inside the bark. Shapes pressed against the living wall from within. Human shapes. Arms, faces, torsos, all half absorbed into the wood, their outlines shifting with every pulse of amber light. Some looked like they were trying to push out. Others looked like they were trying to pull me in. The CB hissed again and a man's voice whispered, "Keep your eyes on the road. Don't stop." But there wasn't any road left. Just that pulsing, breathing tunnel curving endlessly downward. The radio static rose in pitch until it sounded like a scream buried under wind. Then everything stopped. The headlights flickered out. The hum vanished. The engine died. And for the first time all night, the forest went silent. That silence lasted maybe 10 seconds. Then something knocked on the side of my truck. 3 times. Slow. Deliberate. I turned my head toward the sound, and saw a hand pressed against the driver's side window. Not human. The fingers were long, gnarled, the color of old bark, with veins of glowing amber running under the skin. The hand tapped the glass again as if asking permission. And then, with a low creak, the forest moved. The wall of trees ahead began to open wider, revealing a faint light beyond, something brighter than the amber glow. A promise of an exit. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I just turned the key and prayed the truck would start. It did. I floored it. The corridor shuddered. The hand slipped away. The walls of wood closed in on both sides as I barreled through, scraping, splintering, tearing away mirrors and lights. And then, just like that, I was out. The tires hit smooth asphalt again, and my mirrors showed still forest on both sides, silent and unmoving. I didn't slow down. I didn't check the damage. I just drove. But as I hit 85, the headlights caught something in the mirror, something following. A shadow of trees stepping onto the road behind me, still in perfect formation. They weren't done. Not yet. When I broke free of the corridor, I thought I'd left it behind. I was wrong. The first few miles back on open road felt almost normal. My gauges steadied, the hum in the steering column faded, and the stars reappeared overhead like they'd been switched on again. I even laughed, a short, broken sound that died the second I checked the mirrors. They were still there. A whole line of trees marching single file down the center of the road, their silhouettes blacker than the night, each one stepping with perfect rhythm. Every time my wheels hit a reflector, they took a step. Tap thump, an impossible heartbeat echoing mine. I kept the pedal down until the speedometer climbed past 90. The rig vibrated, trailer whining on its shocks. My GPS, miraculously alive again, flashed a message I'd never seen: route complete. But there was no junction, no lights from 242, no sign of human life. Just forest. Then a voice over channel 19. Come, human. Driver 147, you're heading the wrong way. I grabbed the mic. Who is this? Static. Then the voice again, closer. Stop fighting the direction. The CB squealed. The headlights flickered. And when the beams steadied, the road ahead ended. Not curved, not turned, ended. Straight into a wall of living wood that filled the horizon. I hit the brakes so hard the seatbelt carved my shoulder. The truck shuddered to a stop 10 feet from the trunks. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the wall rippled. Bark flexed. Trunks twisted aside just enough to reveal a narrow opening, perfectly centered on my hood. An invitation. I should have thrown it in reverse, but the forest behind was closing again. Root legs stabbing into the asphalt, sealing every retreat. The air tasted of resin and metal. The branches above intertwined until not a single star remained. I didn't think, I obeyed. As I rolled forward, branches brushed the roof with gentle, deliberate strokes, like something guiding rather than grabbing. The glow returned, dull amber pulsing beneath the bark. The smell, earth, sap, blood. 10 minutes, maybe more, the passage kept straight. Then the trees began to thin. A cold blue light shimmered ahead, moonlight on water. I came out beside a small lake ringed by dead stumps. The road simply stopped at the shoreline, the asphalt dissolving into black mud. The forest stood behind me, silent. Waiting. For the first time all night, I killed the engine. Steam hissed from under the hood. The surface of the lake was glass still, reflecting nothing. Not me, not the truck, not the moon. When I stepped out, the mud felt warm through my boots. Something moved beneath it. At first I thought it was water seeping in, but the ripples ran toward me from every direction. The entire lake trembled, concentric waves converging at the shore where I stood. Then I heard it, deep, ancient, resonant. Not wind, not water. A voice made of wood and soil and centuries. The forest walks because you paved its skin. The sound vibrated through the ground, through my ribs, through the cab metal. Every mile stolen must be walked again. The stumps at the water's edge began to rise, sprouting new roots slick with mud. Faces, half-formed from bark, turned toward me, hundreds of them, mouths opening in silent accusation. I stumbled back into the truck, slammed the door, hit the starter. The engine coughed, caught. The headlights carved the scene in flashes, trunks lifting themselves free, mud sloughing off like shed skin. I reversed, tires spinning, and the forest parted just enough to let me go, as if satisfied I'd heard the message. When I reached Highway 58 again, dawn was breaking. The road behind me looked ordinary, lined with still, harmless trees. I pulled into the first rest stop and sat there until my hands stopped shaking. By daylight the trailer showed gouges that ran its full length, parallel scratches 6 inches apart, deep enough to cut steel. State police took a report. "Maybe you scraped a guardrail," they said. They found no such rail. That was 3 months ago. Every night since, I checked the mirrors more than I should. I watched the tree line along every mountain pass, counting trunks, making sure they're still the same distance away. Because I've learned something the maps won't show you. Some forests don't stay put. They remember. And when the wind dies and the road grows quiet, I can feel them walking again. Slow, deliberate, patient, waiting for the next driver who trusts a shortcut. There's a kind of silence in the high desert that can hollow a man out. No insects, no wind, just the hum of your tires and the sound of your own pulse echoing in your ears. That's what Highway 395 felt like the night I heard myself die. I'd been driving 6 hours straight, from Burns down toward Lakeview, hauling fertilizer to a depot that never stays open late but always swears they will. The road was empty except for my headlights carving through sagebrush and volcanic rock that all looked the same after midnight. If hell had a highway, it would sound like this. The steady rhythm of wheels and the hum of power lines in a sky too big for God to bother with. I kept the CB on out of habit. Most nights it's quiet, just static and the occasional trucker ghosting through the channels. But that night the radio crackled once, twice, then cleared. A woman's voice broke through. Calm but shaky, words clipped by panic. "This is anyone southbound on 395 near Lakeview. I need help. My truck's making a grinding noise and I think it's getting worse." I leaned forward, squinting at the road sign I just passed. Mile marker 172. The voice said she was 15 miles north of town. So was I. I thumbed the mic. "Copy that, southbound. This is white Freightliner just passing 172. I don't see anyone ahead. You sure about your mile?" No answer. Just static. Then the voice came again, but she wasn't responding to me. She was still talking like she hadn't heard me at all. Temperature gauge just spiked. Smoke under the hood. I'm pulling into the rest area at mile marker 187. My stomach tightened. That was exactly 15 miles ahead. Exactly where I'd be in 10 minutes. I slowed a little, told myself she was a few minutes ahead of me and maybe she'd lost her signal. Still, there was something in her voice, that low, hollow fear people only get when they've already decided they won't make it out. The CB popped again. I have to stop. I think it's going to blow. I gripped the mic tighter. "I'm coming up on 180 now. I'll be there soon, just hang tight." "What's your rig?" The reply hit like a hammer. "Freightliner." "What?" "Same as yours." My throat went dry. I glanced at my side mirrors, nothing behind me but darkness. Nothing ahead but the shimmer of fog beginning to form over the asphalt. I told myself it was coincidence. White Freightliner's not exactly rare. But there was something else, the way she said certain words, the rhythm. It sounded exactly like me. My pulse started climbing. I checked my gauges. Everything was normal. Oil, coolant, battery. All fine. But then my temperature needle twitched. Just a little. Then a little more. Then it climbed halfway up the gauge. I killed the CB trying to break the connection. The voice kept talking anyway. "Smoke's everywhere. I can't see outside. I'm waiting for it to clear before I check the engine." Her voice was strained now, rasping from the smoke I couldn't see but could somehow smell, a bitter tang like burnt rubber filling the cab. Then I saw it, a flickering light up ahead, faint and yellow. The rest area. Mile marker 187. The exact place she said she'd stopped. I eased off the gas and coasted toward the turnout. The fog was thick now, curling around my headlights like smoke. The temperature needle slammed into the red. My rig began to shake. No, not possible. I could hear the same grinding sound she described, deep, metallic, clawing from under the hood. And through the static of the turned-off CB, her voice returned, whispering now. "It's right here. It's under the hood." I can see it moving. That was my voice. My phrasing. Every word. I froze. My breath caught. I turned off the engine and listened. The fog thickened, swirling around the mirrors until the world outside disappeared. Then, from within that heavy silence, I heard something dragging across the gravel. Slow, wet, rhythmic. And then, faintly through the speaker, my own voice again. I'm stepping out to check. And before I could stop myself, my hand reached for the door handle. I didn't decide to move. Something in me just obeyed. The latch clicked. The night air hit my face, dry and cold, and the fog smelled like burnt plastic and decay. I stepped out, one boot crunching gravel. And that's when I saw it, smoke pouring from under the hood, black and oily, coiling in ways that didn't make sense, like it was alive. My fingers reached for the release latch before my brain could even scream no. Because the voice on the radio had already said it, and I was just following the script. The latch was hot against my palm. Not warm, hot, like metal left in a furnace. Steam hissed through the seams of the hood, thick and black, smelling of oil, rubber, and something else. It wasn't the scent of burning machinery. It was sweeter. Organic. The voice on the CB kept narrating in perfect rhythm with my movements. The hood is hot. I'm using my jacket to protect my hand. I froze. Because that's exactly what I'd just done. The radio wasn't predicting me, it was remembering me. Like I was acting out something that had already happened. The thought twisted my gut, but I couldn't stop. My hands moved on their own, lifting the latch, pushing the hood open. A cloud of smoke hit me square in the face, thick, tar-dark, warm as a breath. I stumbled back, coughing. The beam from my flashlight cut through the haze, shaking in my hand. The voice on the radio kept talking. The belt shredded. Rubber all over the pulleys. But that's not the problem. There's something else down there. Something moving. I aimed my light into the engine bay, and my stomach dropped. I was right. There was something pale wedged between the radiator and the block. Not mechanical. Not even remotely. It looked like flesh, the color of old wax, slick and veined. It pulsed. Not fast, not frantic. Slow, steady, like a heartbeat trapped inside the metal. It looks alive, the radio whispered. I think it's breathing. The skin, or whatever it was, flexed as if it had heard. Then a seam opened down its center, a long vertical slit revealing a wet, red interior that glistened like raw muscle. My flashlight flickered. I took a step back, shaking my head, whispering to myself. No, no, no. I need to touch it, the voice said. My own voice. I dropped the flashlight. The beam spun across the ground, strobing through the fog. My hand, traitorous, unthinking, reached out toward the pulsing tissue. The heat radiating from it was wrong. Not the heat of friction but body warmth. And just before my fingertips brushed it, it moved toward me. It wasn't stuck in the engine. It was growing out of it. I yanked my hand back, but not fast enough. Something latched onto my wrist, soft at first, then hardening like stone. I screamed. The sound was swallowed by the fog. The grip tightened, pulling my arm into the engine bay. Metal dug into my forearm. The pain was sharp, electric. The CB came alive again, my own voice now crying through static. It's got me. I can't pull away. It's pulling me in. The thing's surface rippled. The slit widened. A black fluid began seeping out, thick and slow, dripping onto the bumper and sizzling against the paint. I braced my free hand against the grill and pulled. The skin of the thing stretched like taffy, clinging to me, refusing to tear. Then came the smell, copper, decay, and something strangely floral, like lilies rotting in stagnant water. My head filled with a low hum. Not mechanical, not natural, vocal. The sound of something exhaling words it didn't need a mouth to form. Closer. The word vibrated inside my skull. I screamed again and pulled with everything I had. The grip broke. I fell backward onto the gravel, gasping. My wrist was slick with blood and coated in some translucent slime that smoked where it touched the air. The engine bay was still open. The thing was still there, throbbing, glistening, its color shifting now from pale to dark red. And from somewhere inside that writhing mass, a face began to form. It pressed forward against the surface like a fetus against a womb, features smoothing into shape, eyes, nose, mouth, my face. The CB echoed the same broken laugh I was making. "It's me," the voice said. "It's always been me." The hood slammed shut on its own. The clang shook the truck. For a moment there was silence. Then through the fog I heard footsteps. Not behind me, around me. Soft crunches on gravel, slow and steady, circling the cab. I turned toward the noise, flashlight trembling in my bleeding hand. A figure was standing near the rest area bathroom. Tall, motionless, its outline blurred by the haze. It was dressed wrong, like the world had forgotten its decade. Clothes faded and colorless, hair hanging stiff. The face was hidden in shadow, but I could see enough to know it wasn't watching me. It was waiting. The radio whispered again. "Someone's coming." They were here the whole time. My body went cold. The thing in the engine started knocking from inside the hood, slow and deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. The figure stepped closer. It moved with a patience that felt older than time, as if it had waited for this moment for years. "Don't turn around," the voice warned. But I already had. The figure stood maybe 5 feet from me now, close enough that I could see its breath condensing in the fog, though the night wasn't cold enough for that. Its hand hung low, fingers too long, joints wrong, the way tree roots look when they break through concrete. My own hand, the one it had touched, burned beneath the skin. The veins glowed faintly, pulsing in time with that steady, impossible heartbeat coming from under the hood. The figure took another step forward, and the CB hissed back to life. "They're right behind me," my voice said, barely above a whisper. "I can feel them watching." The figure's head tilted as though listening. Then it started mouthing the words my voice was speaking on the radio. "I can feel them watching." It wasn't talking to me. It was playing me back. I stumbled backward toward the cab, tripping over the flashlight. The beam rolled wild across the pavement, catching the figure mid-stride. Its face reflected the light. And I swear to God, I saw my own. Not perfectly. Not like a twin. Like a copy made out of something that didn't understand skin or bone. Its features were smooth in places they shouldn't be, its mouth slightly wider, its eyes too deep. It was wearing my fear like a mask. My CB screamed with static. My voice, started shouting through it, panicked, echoing words I hadn't said yet. "Don't open the door. Don't let it in." But I was already grabbing the handle. The door flew open, slamming against its hinge as if someone outside had pulled it first. The fog poured into the cab like liquid, thick and heavy. I climbed in anyway, slammed the door shut, locked it, gasping. The truck rocked once, twice. Something heavy brushed against the passenger side. Through the side mirror, I saw a hand slide slowly down the glass, leaving a trail of that same translucent slime that smoked in the air. Then the face pressed against the window. My face. The CB went dead. The radio clicked on. Same frequency. Static turned into a low, distorted hum. Then came a voice, not mine, not hers, but something older, layered, many voices speaking as one. Every driver hears it. Every road repeats. Keep the engine running. The passenger door unlocked itself. The handle turned halfway, then stopped. I kicked it shut from the inside and jammed my shoulder against it. Something was on the other side, pushing, patient, deliberate. Not pounding. Not clawing. Just pressing. Testing the latch. I turned the key. The engine coughed, choked, refused to start. The battery light flickered red, then amber, then red again. Through the windshield, the fog began to move upward like it was forming a shape. The vapor condensed into outlines, hands, faces, mouths whispering soundless words. I covered my ears. Didn't matter. The whispers were inside my head now. "You shouldn't have come this way. You were always coming this way. You are the voice that warns the next." That last line froze the breath in my chest. Because in that instant I understood. The voice on the CB wasn't me from before. It wasn't a ghost. It was me 10 minutes from now. I was the next broadcast. And the driver behind me, whoever they were, would hear my voice describing what I was about to do. The fog thickened again, sealing the world in white. The CB crackled once more, and this time I heard it, a faint, trembling version of myself calling out, terrified, somewhere on the same frequency. "This is anyone southbound on 395 near Lakeview. I need help." The loop had started. My future was already being transmitted backward in time. I don't remember turning the ignition again, but the engine roared to life on its own. The radio volume rose by itself until the cabin was shaking with static and that humming voice whispering, "You drive. We record. You drive. We record." The headlights came on, and the fog peeled away just enough to reveal the rest area sign ahead. Mile marker 187. The same sign I'd passed 10 minutes earlier. The same one the other voice had mentioned first. I pressed my foot down on the accelerator, desperate to leave the loop behind. But as I sped past the bathroom building, the reflection in the passenger window showed something sitting in the seat beside me. The figure, grinning with a mouth too wide, whispering into a CB mic. "I'm pulling into the rest area now." I looked at my own hands. One of them wasn't mine anymore, the veins glowing faintly red beneath the skin, pulsing like the thing under the hood. I screamed. The figure smiled wider. And the fog swallowed everything. The next thing I remember is dawn. A state trooper tapping the glass, asking if I was all right. The rest area was empty, no smoke, no fog, no sign of any other truck. They said I must have fallen asleep. That I was lucky not to crash. But when I checked my CB, it was still on channel 19, volume low, static steady. And underneath that static, faint but clear, a voice was repeating, "This is anyone southbound on 395 near Lakeview. I need help." And every time it looped, I realized it was changing. Because this time it didn't sound like the woman. It sounded like me. The junction should have been there 20 minutes ago. 12 miles west of Eugene, that's what the GPS promised. But the asphalt kept stretching out ahead, black and empty, like time itself had stopped moving. I'd been on the road since sunset, hauling produce towards Salem, trying to stay awake with truck stop coffee and talk radio. The night had gone too quiet, the kind of quiet that amplifies every thought you don't want to have. When the first mile marker appeared in my headlights, 126, I felt relieved. A fixed point in the dark. Then a few minutes later, another one. Also 126. At first I didn't think much of it. The DOT misnumbers markers sometimes. But then came the next one. 126 again. Same number. Same bent post. Same pattern of bullet holes punched through the reflective green. I slowed the truck to 45, staring at the shoulder as it slid past. The gravel spill. The cracked white line that dipped, then straightened. The small patch of weeds growing out of the asphalt edge. And then the next one came. 126. Identical. By the time I saw the fifth, I knew something was wrong. I pulled over, let the truck idle, and rubbed my eyes until they burned. Fatigue maybe. Highway hypnosis, it happens to drivers. You fall into rhythm and your brain starts recycling the same image. But the odometer didn't lie. 10 miles covered. No junction. No change in scenery. I killed the headlights and stepped out. The night air hit like cold breath. Above me the stars looked off, too bright, too close. The silence was absolute. No crickets. No wind. Just the hum of the cooling engine behind me. I walked up to the marker. My flashlight beam landed on the numbers, peeling white paint, the metal warped slightly near the base. I tapped it with my boot. Solid. Ordinary. Behind me, the road stretched straight in both directions, blacktop shining faintly under moonlight. I marked the spot in my mind, a small dip in the shoulder where rainwater had pooled. Then I got back in and drove on. 5 minutes later, the same dip appeared again. The same puddle, catching the same reflection of stars. I stared at it until the next mile marker came into view. 126. My hands started trembling. I pulled over again and checked the GPS. The blue arrow was still moving west, but the map beneath it had frozen. The road ahead showed nothing, just gray void. I zoomed out. The arrow stayed locked in place. Zoomed out farther. Still the same. When I zoomed in again, the number next to the arrow had changed. Not a coordinate, just one word in pale red text. Repeat. I stared at it until the letters flickered and disappeared. I restarted the phone. Same result. Then the CB crackled. A voice broke through the static. Male, shaky, whispering fast. "If you can hear me, you're in the loop. Don't stop. Don't get out again. I froze. Who is this? I asked. Doesn't matter. Just listen. The more you stop, the worse it gets. The road copies you. Every pass makes it stronger. Then static. Then silence. I put the truck in gear and eased forward, heart pounding. The white center line ahead looked faded in a new way, scuffed, cracked like paint peeling from skin. At the half-mile point, the radio came alive again. Not the CB this time, the FM tuner. Every channel broadcasting the same thing. A sound like tires on asphalt. My tires. It matched perfectly with every turn of my wheels. When I braked, it slowed. When I stopped, it stopped. I turned the volume down to 0. The sound didn't fade. It was outside. The air carried it, the rhythm of travel repeating itself, looping around me like an echo stuck in time. I pressed harder on the gas. The needle climbed. 50, 60, 70. The mile marker appeared again. 126. Only this time it wasn't on the right side. It was in the middle of the road. Bent forward slightly, facing me like a warning sign. I swerved at the last second, barely missing it. The side mirror clipped the post, sending it spinning into the dark. But when I looked into the mirror, it was already upright again, standing exactly where it had been. And as I stared at it fading into the distance, something caught my eye. A figure, faint, standing by the marker watching me go. Just for a moment. Then gone. The CB whispered again, one last burst of static and breath. If you see yourself, don't stop. The voice's warning echoed in my head as the road unfolded endlessly ahead of me, that same mile repeating like a heartbeat. Each cycle began with a puddle on the shoulder. Then the same curve. Then the same faint dip where the tires hit smoother pavement. Then the marker. 126. By the 10th repetition I stopped counting. Something had changed though. Subtle at first. The stars had shifted positions. The moon was gone entirely. The horizon line looked closer, curved somehow, like the road was folding itself over and over. On the 15th pass, the reflection in the side mirror wasn't the same as the windshield view. The mirror showed faint red taillights glowing far behind me, too far for my trailer, too steady for a car. But when I looked back through the rear window, there was nothing. It hit me then. I wasn't just looping through the same stretch of highway. I was overlapping with something else. Another version of the same moment, slightly out of sync. That's when I saw the seam. Halfway between the second and third reflectors after each mile marker, the road shimmered, a faint heat haze ripple, visible only when I passed over it. The first few loops I'd missed it. Now it was brighter, like a mirage under high heat. I decided to test it. On the next loop I slowed to 20. When the shimmer appeared, I braked gently, letting the front tires stop right on top of it. The truck vibrated softly, not from the engine but from the road itself, a low hum that matched the pulse I'd been hearing in my ears. I opened the door and stepped down. My boots hit asphalt that felt warm. The air was different here. Still heavy. No insect buzz, no night breeze. Just that low hum traveling up through the soles of my shoes. I crouched down, shined my flashlight on the seam. It wasn't a crack. It was a crease, a narrow line where the surface dipped in on itself, like two realities stitched together with tar. And when I leaned closer, I heard it. Whispers. Not from beneath but inside the seam. Dozens of voices, layered and faint, all speaking the same word. Turn. The sound crawled into my ears, my chest, the back of my skull. I jerked upright, stumbled back, shaking my head. The truck's engine died. The lights blinked out. The hum faded. Then the mile marker, the one I just passed, flickered on like it was electrified. The reflective numbers glowed white in the dark, even though my headlights were dead. And beside it, a shape stood up from the ditch. At first I thought it was a person. Same build as mine. Same jacket, same reflective vest, same stance. It was me. The copy raised its hand slowly and pointed at the road, at the seam. Then it tilted its head like it was listening to something I couldn't hear. The whispers inside the asphalt grew louder, more urgent. Turn. 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 I didn't move. I couldn't. The other me took a step toward the center line. Then another. Then disappeared into the shimmer. Gone. The world snapped back into motion. The truck's engine roared to life without me touching the key. The headlights blinked back on, and the seam ahead of me began to glow faintly red. On instinct, I floored it. The truck surged forward. The shimmer rose off the road like heat from a forge. The CB came alive again, this time with my own voice. I found it. I found the exit. Then static. I gripped the wheel tight. Exit. I whispered. Where? The voice answered through the radio, warped and distant. In the crack. Drive through. The glow ahead pulsed, calling me forward like a living thing. I didn't believe it, but I also didn't see another choice. I lined the truck up dead center and pressed the accelerator. The shimmer widened, a curtain of red light stretching from ditch to ditch. The tires hit the line and the world tore open. For 1 second I saw everything. 100 versions of the same road stacked like layers of film, each with a truck driving through, each driver turning to look at me, each face my own. Then I was falling. The sound of the engine stretched, the world twisted into a tunnel of light, and the hum became a scream that wasn't mechanical at all. Then everything stopped. The dashboard clock blinked 2:17 a.m., the same time as when it all began. The odometer read the same mileage. And when I looked out the window, mile marker 126 stood right beside me. Only now it wasn't empty. Someone, or something, had carved a new line beneath the numbers. Red. U-turned. The carved words glared white in my headlights. U-turned. Each letter looked gouged deep into the metal, edges still raw as if freshly burned. I ran a shaking hand through my hair, trying to breathe, trying to reason. Had I blacked out? Dreamed the whole thing? Then I noticed something that froze me mid-breath. My truck wasn't idling. It was breathing. The steering wheel rose and fell beneath my hands in slow rhythm, the same pulse that had throbbed through the seam. The whole cab seemed to inhale and exhale. Not violently, just calmly, patiently, like the road itself had lungs and I was inside them. I slammed the ignition off. The engine died, but the motion continued for a few seconds before settling into stillness. Outside, the air had changed. It no longer smelled of asphalt and pine. It smelled of old metal, wet stone, and something faintly sweet, the kind of sweetness that hides behind rot. I opened the door. The world outside wasn't quite night anymore. It looked flattened, like color had been scraped away, leaving only gradients of gray and faint orange light bleeding from the horizon. The mile marker still stood ahead, its reflection shimmering even though there were no headlights to catch it. I stepped onto the road. The surface was warm again, soft enough that my boot heel left a faint impression. When I looked back, my tire tracks didn't fade into distance. They curved gently to the right, looped around, and rejoined the road ahead of me. It wasn't just a loop in space. It was a loop in memory. Something whispered my name. Not through the air, but from the asphalt itself. I crouched down, pressed my palm against it. It pulsed once beneath my skin, a slow, steady heartbeat. And in that pulse I saw flashes. Other trucks. Other drivers. Different decades. Rigs from the 70s, the 50s, all trapped in the same repeating mile, headlights cutting through the same gray air. And every single one of them had the same number carved beneath the marker. U-turned. That's when I realized what the voice on the CB had meant. The loop didn't trap everyone. It chose. Those who refused to turn kept driving forever, chasing an exit that wasn't there. Those who did turn became part of it. A distant rumble drew my attention down the road. Headlights. Another truck. White cab, long trailer, identical to mine. I watched it slow as it neared the puddle, then saw the driver's silhouette lean forward, peering at the mile marker. He was me. Or I was him. The air grew heavier, folding between us like stretched rubber. My reflection inside the cab windows twisted, moving a fraction slower than I did. Every second that passed, the other truck grew more real, while mine dimmed like a reflection on black water. Then the CB clicked on by itself. Static hissed through the cab. "If you can hear me," my own voice said, low and urgent, "you're in the loop. Don't stop. Don't get out again." It was the same warning I'd heard earlier, the one that started this whole nightmare. Only now I was the one broadcasting it. The headlights of the other truck flashed once. Then twice. A signal. An answer. I ran toward it, waving my arms, screaming for him to stop, to turn around, but the air between us warped like heat above asphalt. The sound of my voice folded inward and vanished. The other driver's silhouette turned, staring right at me, and I realized he couldn't see a man at all. To him, I was just another figure standing by the marker. A ghost. A warning. His truck passed through me with a rush of cold wind. For a moment, I saw everything inside his cab. His trembling hands, his wide eyes, the phone on his dash frozen with that same red word blinking. Repeat. Then he was gone, swallowed by the curve of the loop. And the mile marker behind me changed again. Now it read. You spoke. The air fell silent. Even the hum beneath my boots went still. I looked up the road. Another set of headlights glowed faintly in the distance, beginning their first pass through mile 126. I walked back to the cab, opened the door, and sat behind the wheel. The radio was still live, waiting for me to talk. I took a deep breath and pressed the mic. If you can hear me, I said, voice shaking, you're in the loop. Don't stop. Don't get out again. Static answered, soft and endless. Then, faintly, another voice, my own just a few seconds behind. If you can hear me. The world folded one more time, sealing the loop. Now I drive it still, 1 mile forever. The clock never moves. The marker never changes. And every few hours, when a new driver appears, I reach for the mic again. Because that's what the road wants. Remembers? I was an hour into the mountain climb when the dispatcher called. Her voice cut through the static with that calm, careful tone they use when something's already gone wrong. Westbound Unit 42, do you copy? I thumbed the mic. Copy. Go ahead. We just got a distress ping from your rig's transponder. Brake temperature anomaly, possible sensor fault. Everything reading normal on your end? I glanced at the dash. Gauges steady. Air pressure good. Temps green. Looks fine here, I said. You sure it's mine? Pause. Affirmative. Serial matches. Keep me updated if anything changes. I shrugged it off. Sometimes the satellite throws ghosts over Deadman Pass. That stretch of I-84 eats signals for breakfast. Outside, the world was black rock and low clouds. The eastbound lanes across the median were empty except for a single pair of taillights crawling downhill miles away. The grade was steep, the kind that makes your stomach hang a little behind you. Fog rolled in thick, headlights bouncing back in milky halos. I slowed to 40 and downshifted. That's when the CB hissed. Unit 42, what's your status? I grabbed the mic again. Still climbing. Everything's fine. Negative, the voice said flat. You're descending. I frowned. Say again? We show you losing elevation fast. I glanced at the altimeter. Steady climb. The dash compass still pointed west. You sure your data's right? Silence, then a different tone in her voice, half whisper, half plea. Check your mirrors. I did. The road behind was gone. Not dark, gone. Nothing but fog, white and total, like the mountain itself had been erased. The dispatcher spoke again, slower now. Listen to me carefully. You're about 3 minutes ahead of where you should be. I let out a nervous laugh. What does that even mean? We're receiving your telemetry before you send it. The words didn't make sense. I started to answer, but the CB clicked dead. Only static. The climb sharpened. My headlights hit a sign I didn't remember. Runaway truck ramp, 1 mile. Except I'd already passed that ramp 20 minutes ago. My stomach turned cold. The fog thickened until I could barely see the hood. The tires hummed against the asphalt, a sound too smooth for mountain grade. I eased off the throttle. Then the radio came alive again, but the voice wasn't hers. It was mine. Dispatch, this is Unit 42, air pressure's dropping fast. I can't slow down. Do you copy? I froze. That was my own voice, panicked, echoing through static. Another transmission overlapped it, her voice this time desperate. You're not there yet. Do not respond. Do not engage with the copy. The fog outside pulsed with light, headlights maybe but brighter wrong. It washed the cab in pale green, flickering like lightning trapped in mist. Then, faintly through the glass I saw movement. A truck. My truck, rolling downhill toward me on the opposite lane, trailer sway identical, lights timed perfectly to mine. We passed each other in silence. And as we did, every gauge on my dashboard jumped to 0. The steering went light. The engine noise hollowed out until it sounded like whine through a tunnel. I hit the brakes. They went straight to the floor. And the last thing I heard before the radio cut off completely was dispatch whispering, "You're about to make the call." The brake pedal was dead beneath my boot. No resistance, no hiss of air, just the hollow thunk of metal bottoming out. I pumped it twice, 3 times. Nothing. The truck kept rolling, gathering speed on the mountain grade. Fog swallowed the world beyond my windshield. I couldn't see 20 feet ahead. "Dispatch, this is Unit 42. I shouted into the mic, "I've lost the brakes." "Repeat, brakes are gone, I'm coming down dead man." Static. Then my own voice answered, "Brakes are gone. Coming down dead man." It wasn't a playback. I could hear the tremor in it, the panic of a man about to die. But it came half a second before I spoke each word. "Dispatch, are you copying that?" I yelled. No response. I shifted down, trying to catch compression, but the gears ground like gravel. RPM spiked. The whole cab shuddered. I smelled metal, hot, sharp like pennies burning. The headlights hit another sign. "Runaway truck ramp. 1 mile." Again. Impossible. I'd been descending for 5 minutes straight. I should have hit the bottom by now. Outside, the fog thickened until it became solid white, featureless as snow. My own headlights reflected back, turning the cab into a glowing box. I could feel gravity pulling me forward, down a slope that felt steeper every second. Then the radio clicked. 42, this is dispatch. Relief washed over me. Thank God. I've lost braking. Listen carefully, she interrupted, voice flat and wrong. The call you're making right now, we received it 5 minutes ago. What? You're already at the bottom. I'm not. I shouted. I'm still. Do not finish that sentence. The signal distorted, splitting her voice into 2 pitches, one high, one low. Every time you say it, the descent repeats. The truck jolted, lurched. I'd hit another curve but couldn't see it. My stomach went weightless. Outside, faint orange lights flickered through the fog, like street lamps glimpsed through water. But they were above me, hanging in the mist where the sky should be. The road tilted harder. The steering wheel trembled in my hands. Dispatch. I screamed. I need help. You already asked for help, she said. You always ask for help. The CB popped with overlapping echoes of my own voice. Brakes are gone. Brakes are gone. Brakes are gone. Each repetition got fainter, older, layered with static until it became a chorus. I slammed the engine brake. Nothing. Tried the emergency air valve. Nothing. Then the lights ahead parted for a split second, just enough to show me a shadow across the lane. Another truck, jackknifed sideways, headlights dead. Its trailer was mine, the same company markings, same ID numbers. I swerved left. The mirror exploded against the trailer's corner. Sparks flew. When I looked back, it was gone. The speedometer needle was buried past 90. My hand slipped on the wheel, slick with sweat. The fog ahead pulsed green again, and for an instant, I saw the mountain walls fall away, sheer drops of black nothingness on either side. The voice in the radio shifted tone. Lower now, almost a whisper pressed against my ear. You're not on the road anymore. What do you mean? You left it 3 minutes ago. I blinked. Looked down. The asphalt had vanished beneath my headlights. My truck was gliding over a surface smooth and glassy, reflecting my own rig upside down below me. The reflection's headlights pointed up like eyes. Keep driving, dispatch said. If you stop, it takes your call. My call? The one we keep getting. The one that never ends. The radio began to echo itself, a feedback loop of my own voice calling for help, overlapping with her replies, repeating like broken time. Outside, the reflection below me began to change. The upside-down truck wasn't mirroring me anymore. It was slowing down, turning sideways, sliding toward invisible trees. That's what happens when they stop, she said. Don't look down. But I couldn't stop staring. The reflected cab burst into flame, soundless, the fire curling upward until it merged with my headlights. The steering wheel jerked once, hard enough to tear the skin from my palm. "Almost there," dispatch whispered. "Just hold it together a few more seconds." The fog ahead flashed white. A shape loomed through it, an exit ramp rising sharp and steep. The runaway ramp. I yanked the wheel toward it. The truck screamed. Tires bit gravel. My body slammed forward against the harness. Then silence. The engine died. The radio clicked off. The fog evaporated. I was parked halfway up the ramp, perfectly still. My hands shook so bad I could barely breathe. Then the CB came on one last time, clear and calm. "Westbound Unit 42, report status." I grabbed the mic, trembling. "This is 42. I'm safe. I made it." Static. Then softly. "No, you didn't." And the line went dead. I sat there shaking, the truck half buried in the gravel of the runaway ramp, headlights cutting through thin wisps of fog. Everything was quiet, too quiet for a place where a 15-ton rig had just stopped from 90 miles an hour. My breathing was ragged. I could taste blood from where I'd bitten my tongue. I fumbled for the mic again, thumb hovering over the button. "Dispatch confirm. I'm stationary." Repeat, "Stationary on the west ramp." Silence. Then in the background, faint and tinny, my own voice. "Dispatch confirm. I'm stationary." The same words. Half a heartbeat ahead of me. I froze. Another reply overlapped it, her voice but different. Slower, more deliberate. "We already logged that call. You said those words an hour ago." "No, ma'am," I said, voice breaking. "I just made it out. I'm here right now." "You're not," she said softly. We pulled the footage. A click, then a sound I'll never forget. My own CB recording played through the channel. The grinding metal, my screams, the long echo of wind rushing through a hollow cab. Then a crash. Then nothing. I gripped the steering wheel, staring at the dark windshield. The world outside felt thin, like a movie screen stretched too tight. "Who is this?" I whispered. "Who am I talking to?" Static hissed, then steadied into that flat professional tone again. "Highway Patrol recovered your rig at the base of Deadman Pass 43 minutes ago." The cab was empty. My skin went cold. "You've been calling in ever since," she said. "Every night at 2:11 a.m. The same words. Same panic." "That's impossible," I said. "I'm here. I'm alive." "Then look outside." I hesitated, then reached for the door handle. The moment the seal broke, the air hit me, dry, metallic, reeking faintly of antifreeze and burnt rubber. I stepped out. The ramp was gone. The ground beneath my boots was glassy black, stretching flat into the fog. My truck sat weightless, its wheels not quite touching the surface. Far below, faint lights glowed, the highway, the real one, 1,000 feet down. And on that road I saw another rig, my rig, flipped sideways, flames licking the trailer. I staggered back toward the cab, heart slamming in my chest. The radio flared again. 42 remained calm. Her voice cracked now, like static was tearing it apart. "You're on the record now. Just finish the call." "What call?" "The last one." My dashboard flickered. Every light turned amber, then red. The altimeter spun. The clock reset to 2:11 a.m. The steering wheel started to move on its own, slow turns left, right, left, like invisible hands were testing the motion. I grabbed it, but it was warm, too warm. Then I heard her again, faintly, as if she was standing behind me instead of on the radio. "You always fight this part." A shape appeared in the passenger seat reflection. Female. Uniform shirt. Eyes too dark. Mouth open wider than it should go. I turned, but the seat was empty. The voice in the CB kept talking, seamless, rehearsed, mechanical. "This is Dispatcher K95 responding to westbound Unit 42. Brakes failed on descent. Signal terminated at marker 227. Her tone flattened into the automated drone of a recorded message. Then I realized she wasn't speaking to me anymore. She was speaking about me. And the words weren't coming through the speaker. They were coming from it, pre-recorded, looped, like she'd been playing the same tape for years. The realization hit. The dispatcher I'd been hearing wasn't alive. The system was answering itself. Every night, the radio reached out, broadcasting an old distress call. Mine, back into the same stretch of mountain, searching for a response that never came. I pressed the transmit button, screaming into the mic, "If you can hear this, anyone, break the loop. Don't answer the call." The static roared. For a moment I thought I'd broken it. The fog outside brightened, the air hummed. The road beneath the truck began to tilt downward, pulling everything toward the abyss below. Then her voice returned, soft as a sigh. "We copy Unit 42. Help is on the way." The cab jerked forward, rolling downhill again, the same curve, the same incline. The same sign sliding into view through the fog. "Runaway truck ramp. 1 mile." And in the glass of the dashboard display, I saw myself reflected back. Mouth open, eyes wide, still shouting into a dead radio. The call had started again. The loop was perfect. I was the recording now. Every trucker in southern Oregon knows the stretch between Medford and Gold Beach. It's 2 hours of twisting mountain highway, hairpin turns, sharp grades, and fog so dense it feels like wet cement. Most of us hate it. That's why when the new routing app started showing a shortcut through the Rogue River, Siskiyou Forest, I figured I'd give it a shot. It was past midnight, early spring. Rain misted against the windshield. I'd been hauling fruit crates for 16 hours, my head buzzing from gas station coffee and the static hum of the CB. The app's voice told me to turn left onto a smaller road marked only by a faded sign. Forest Service Route 89B. It wasn't paved, just compacted dirt that glistened wet under the headlights. Still, it looked clear enough. I'd cut 30 minutes off the drive, maybe more. The first 10 miles were fine. The road wound between walls of Douglas firs, their branches sagging low with rain. The forest smelled damp and alive. No other vehicles, no lights. Just me and the rhythmic squeak of the wipers. Then, at mile 11, my high beams caught something strange on the right shoulder. A reflector post, metal maybe 4 feet tall with a square mirror mounted on top. The mirror was turned the wrong way. It faced the forest, not the road. I slowed. Shined my light on it. The surface wasn't glass. It was polished steel, warped slightly, reflecting the trees like water. And in that reflection, for half a second, I saw movement. A person. Just standing there. I swung the wheel, aiming the lights into the trees. Nothing but dripping ferns and moss. I shook my head, laughed it off. The night plays tricks on tired eyes. 10 minutes later, another reflector appeared. Same height, same warped surface, same wrong direction, facing the trees. This time I didn't slow down. The CB crackled suddenly, loud enough to make me flinch. "Southbound unit," a man's voice said, low and even. "You see them yet?" I grabbed the mic. "Who is this?" "Don't look in the mirrors." The transmission cut. I checked the channel, 19, the trucker frequency, but the screen read something I'd never seen before. Unlisted band. I switched the radio off. Static kept whispering through the speakers anyway. Ahead, the fog thickened. My headlights turned the road into a tunnel of gray. The trees pressed closer. The reflectors kept appearing, one every 50 yards now, always facing the forest, always catching the light for just a second before fading behind me. Each time the light hit, the reflection looked wrong. The trees were fine, but the road behind me didn't match. In the mirrors, the lane looked narrower. The trailer looked older. Once, I swore I saw someone walking alongside it. I turned the mirrors upward so I wouldn't be tempted to look again. Then, just as the grade began to rise, the headlights hit something in the center of the road. A man. He stood directly ahead, motionless, wearing a dark raincoat that hung to his knees. His face was hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. Behind him, no car, no bike, nothing. Just fog. I hit the horn. No movement. The CB hissed again. "Keep driving," the voice said. "Don't stop for him." The man didn't flinch. He just lifted one arm and pointed toward the trees. The forest on that side was pitch black. No reflectors. No road. Just the faint shimmer of something metallic deeper between the trunks, like another mirror catching my beams. I hesitated, foot on the brake. The voice came again, sharp this time. He's not flagging you down. He's showing you the exit. Then static swallowed the words. When I looked back up, the man was gone. Only rain and fog in his place. I drove another mile before the road ended at a T-junction that shouldn't have existed. The GPS showed a straight line continuing west, but the actual road turned left and right. No sign, no landmarks, nothing. In the beam of my headlights, I saw one more reflector post standing at the center of the junction, facing away again toward the forest. And this time it wasn't blank. Words had been etched into the metal, shallow but visible through the mist. Turn the lights off. I stared at those words, turn the lights off, until the rain blurred them into streaks. Every instinct screamed not to. You don't kill your headlights in the middle of a forest you don't know, not at midnight, not on a dirt road with cliffs somewhere nearby. But that voice on the CB still echoed in my head. He's showing you the exit. I reached for the switch. My hand trembled so badly I had to steady it with the other. The world went black. The silence that followed wasn't natural. It was the kind that listened back. Even the rain seemed to hold its breath. Then out of the darkness something glowed. Not bright, more like moonlight bending through water. The forest had lit up. Every tree trunk shone faintly silver, and between them, where there had been nothing before, dozens of mirrored panels now stood. Each one was the same warped metal as the reflectors, tall, rectangular, tilted at different angles. And in each one my headlights were still shining. I blinked hard. My truck was dark, engine off, but every reflection showed a version of it still running, lights blazing through the fog. A hum rose in the air, low and rhythmic, like a distant generator. I leaned forward, peering through the windshield. One of the mirrors stood directly ahead, maybe 30 yards away. Its surface rippled like disturbed water, reflecting my cab, and something inside it. In the reflection there was someone sitting in the passenger seat. A man in a raincoat and wide-brimmed hat. I whipped my head around. The seat beside me was empty. When I looked back, the reflection had changed again. Now it was only me in the cab, but my reflection's eyes were wide open, staring straight into mine even though I hadn't moved. I turned the headlights back on. The forest went dead dark again. No glow, no mirrors, just the narrow beam of my high beams slicing through fog. The reflector at the junction had turned around. It now faced the road. And in its warped surface, letters appeared where "Turn the lights off" had been scratched. Follow the others. I shifted into gear, rolling forward slowly. The road curved right, downhill, narrowing between the trees. The reflectors returned, one every few yards now, but all of them faced me. Their mirrors caught my lights and sent them scattering, flashes of white slicing through the dark like camera shutters. Every time I passed one, I caught a glimpse of a truck just ahead of me, same model, same color, tail lights fading into the fog. It felt close, maybe 50 yards. But no matter how much I pressed the accelerator, I never closed the distance. I keyed the CB. Who's up ahead? You reading me? Static answered. Then a faint voice. Don't lose the lights. Don't let the mirrors go dark. It was my own voice. I dropped the mic, staring out the windshield. The tail lights ahead flickered once, then vanished. And with them, the reflectors went out one by one, the forest sinking back into darkness. The air grew heavy. The truck slowed, engine straining though I hadn't eased the pedal. The odometer needle trembled and froze. A shape appeared in the road ahead. The man in the raincoat. He stood at the last visible reflector, one hand resting on it, the other pointing again toward the forest. Rain dripped from the brim of his hat in slow, deliberate beats. I braked to a crawl, not daring to stop completely. The CB hissed alive again. You can leave, the voice said, not mine this time. Lower, older. But you won't like where it takes you. Who are you? I asked, barely above a whisper. The man didn't move. His reflection, though, in the mirror beside him, turned its head and smiled. The smile wasn't human. It was stretched too wide, too patient, showing teeth that reflected light like glass. Then both the man and the mirror folded backward into the trees, vanishing soundlessly, leaving only darkness and the faint impression of movement deeper in the forest. Dozens of shapes, walking slowly, all in the same direction. I hesitated a long time, engine idling. Then I followed. The road narrowed until branches scraped both sides of the cab. The reflectors continued to appear, now embedded in the trees themselves. The air shimmered faintly with their glow. My GPS showed nothing but a gray void. The clock had frozen at 12:47 a.m. Somewhere ahead I could hear the low hum again, deeper now, almost a chant. And as I rounded the next curve, my headlights caught the reflection of a dozen trucks, parked nose to tail along the edge of a clearing. Each one's cab light glowed softly. Each one was empty. But every windshield held the same thing, the faint reflection of a man in a raincoat and wide-brimmed hat, sitting in the passenger seat, waiting. They were parked in a perfect line. 12 trucks, same make, same color, same company markings as mine. Their windshields caught the light like mirrors, reflecting each other in an infinite corridor of glass. The forest around them was dead quiet. Even the rain had stopped. I rolled to a stop at the edge of the clearing, engine rumbling low. My headlights swept across the first cab and froze on the driver's seat. A man was sitting there. He looked exactly like me. He wasn't moving. His head tilted slightly toward the passenger side, where, sure enough, a figure in a raincoat sat perfectly still. The wide-brimmed hat hid its face. My mouth went dry. I turned off the ignition. The moment the engine died, every other truck's lights flickered on at once. 12 sets of headlights. 12 identical white beams cutting through the mist. The glare was blinding, and in that glare I saw movement, shadows climbing out of the other cabs. Dozens of them. Raincoats, hats, faceless silhouettes stepping down into the mud in total silence. My door handle twitched. I slammed the lock down, heart hammering. One of the shapes stopped right outside my window. I could only see its reflection, warped in the glass, shimmering like heat. Then I realized it wasn't outside the window. It was inside the reflection. Its hand pressed against the glass from the other side of the mirror, fingers flattening until the surface began to ripple like water. I grabbed the ignition key and twisted hard. The starter coughed once, twice, refused to catch. The reflection leaned closer until its hat brim scraped the inside of the window. I couldn't see its face, just the faint glint of eyes that didn't belong in a reflection. Then the CB crackled. "You followed too far." The voice wasn't human. It had the tone of wind passing through hollow metal. "They wait for the ones who turn off the highway. You looked into the forest when you should have looked away." Every mirror in the cab began to shimmer. My side mirrors, the windshield, the instrument panel, all of them showing raincoat figures standing still, perfectly aligned. Each one raised its hand in unison. "Give the seat back," the voice said. The lights from the other trucks flared. Their reflections stretched across the clearing, fusing together into a single sheet of light. The ground vibrated beneath my boots. I tried to move, but the seatbelt tightened on its own, pinning me against the seat. "Give the seat back." The words echoed, layered, coming from every direction. The glass of the windshield bulged inward. A shape was pushing through, from the reflection side. First a hand. Then the brim of a hat. The air went cold enough that my breath frosted the inside of the cab. I didn't think. I hit the horn, slammed the shifter into reverse and floored it. The tires spun in mud. The cab rocked. The reflection hand froze inches from my face. Then everything snapped. The mirrors shattered outward, spraying glass like rain. The sound was deafening. Light poured from every broken surface. White, silver, blinding. For a moment, I saw everything reflected within everything else. An endless recursion of drivers, each one frozen mid-scream, each one staring at their own reflection pushing through the glass. Then it all went dark. When I came to, daylight was leaking through the trees. My truck was parked on the main highway shoulder near Gold Beach. The odometer read exactly the same as it had when I'd turned off onto Route 89B. The fuel gauge hadn't moved. The clock still read 12:47 a.m. I got out. The road behind was clear, dry, no dirt tracks, no sign of forest access. Just asphalt. I walked to the shoulder. There, half buried in the grass, was a small square of metal, the kind used for reflectors. Warped, blackened, its surface cloudy. I turned it over. Faint letters were etched into the steel. "Thank you for the ride." The edges of the metal were warm. Too warm. I dropped it. It landed face up, catching the morning sun. For an instant, I saw my reflection again, tired, pale, hollow-eyed. And standing just behind me in the reflection only, a man in a raincoat. He raised his hand, pointed toward the trees and smiled.